I want you to take a deep breath with me right here in this quiet space and just let the world fade away for a moment. Look at me when I say this, because I am speaking directly to your heart, to that beautiful, resilient spirit inside of you that has survived every storm. If you have crossed the threshold of 60 years, you know that life has a way of carving lines not just on our faces, but into our very souls, teaching us exactly what it costs to love and what it means to lose. We have built walls, you and I, brick by heavy brick, convincing ourselves that protection is the same thing as peace. But love isn't just the fragile dream we chased in our youth. It is the radical, quiet courage that makes our wisdom real. What if the greatest love story of your life isn't behind you, but waiting in the very next breath you take? We spend the first half of our lives running, chasing after versions of ourselves that were never meant to last. We chase the noise, the applause, the grand promises written in the sky, believing that love is a storm that must sweep us off our feet. But as the seasons turn and the evening light grows longer and softer, the truth begins to settle in the quiet spaces of our homes. You start to realize that the most profound thing another human being can offer you is not a rescue, but a reflection. Think of a mirror, a perfectly still, clear mirror that doesn't demand you change, doesn't ask you to perform, and doesn't judge the silver in your hair or the shadows in your eyes. True love is that mirror, reflecting your bravest, most beautiful self back to you when you have completely forgotten how to see it. It takes a monumental amount of bravery to look into that mirror when you have spent decades hiding your cracks. I know what it's like to carry a heart that feels a little too heavy, a little too tired from the weight of expectations and the silent grief of yesteryears. We tell ourselves that we are content with our independence, that we have grown too set in our ways to let someone else in, but independence without connection can become a very elegant cage. It requires patience to undo those locks. It requires presence to sit in the stillness with someone else. It requires us to show up exactly as we are, without the masks we wore to survive the battles of our younger days. But here's the truth I've never told anyone. For the longest time, I thought that protecting my heart was the same thing as keeping it safe, until I realized that a heart kept in a vault eventually forgets how to beat. This is where everything I thought I knew changed, right in the middle of the ordinary silence. I looked at my own life, at the miles traveled and the hands I had held, and I realized that the depth of a relationship isn't measured by how long it promises to last, but by how deeply it brings you into the present moment. When you are over 60, you no longer have time for games, for vague promises of tomorrow, or for people who only love the idea of you. You need a presence that says, I am here right now, in this fragile and magnificent now. We don't need someone to fix our past. We need someone who isn't afraid to stand with us in the ruins of it and help us plant new seeds in the soil. Have you felt this too, that sudden, quiet longing in the middle of the night, wondering if it is too late to be truly seen? What if the armor you've worn for so long isn't keeping the world out, but keeping your own light trapped inside? True vulnerability at this stage of life is a masterpiece. It is the daughter of wisdom and the mother of true trust. When we let someone see us, truly see the map of our lives written on our skin and in our silences, we are offering them the ultimate gift. We are saying, here is my vulnerability, not because I am weak, but because I am strong enough to trust you with my truth. Trust is no longer a reckless leap into the dark. It becomes a solid foundation built out of honesty, consistency, and the quiet assurance that we are safe in each other's gaze. It is a shared understanding that we have both been broken, but we have chosen to use our pieces to build a bridge instead of a wall. Before you go any further tonight, hear this one thing. You are not too old to be loved wildly, deeply, and unconditionally. Your capacity to give and receive intimacy hasn't withered. It has only ripened, becoming richer, sweeter, and far more profound than it ever could have been in the spring of your youth. The love that awaits you is not a chaotic fire, but a steady hearth. A place where you can finally take off your shoes, let down your guard, and know that you are completely, irrevocably home. There is a distinct kind of peace that comes when we stop asking love to guarantee us forever and instead ask it to hold us just for today. When we were young, we wanted contracts written in stone. We wanted oaths that could outlast the stars because we were terrified of the passing of time. But time has already passed, has it not? It has moved through us, leaving us older, wiser, and infinitely more grounded. Look at me when I say this. The most beautiful phrase in the human language isn't, "I will love you forever." The most beautiful phrase is, "I am here with you right now." Trust is not built on the grand horizon of tomorrow. It is built in the quiet sanctuary of the present moment. We must learn to appreciate the beauty of a love that doesn't try to outrun its own shadow. When you sit across from someone who truly sees you, who watches the way your eyes move when you speak of your memories, the future ceases to be a source of anxiety. It requires patience to develop this kind of sight. It requires presence to put down the baggage of old betrayals and allow yourself to simply breathe in the space someone else has cleared for you. You don't need a partner who promises to never let a storm hit your house. You need someone who will quietly hold the umbrella with you while it rains, laughing at the downpour. But here's the truth I've never told anyone. I used to think that trust was something you gave all at once, a massive golden key handed over to someone else, until I realized that real trust is a path of tiny, everyday footsteps. This is where everything I thought I knew changed, right when I stopped looking for guarantees. I realized that the people who make the loudest promises are often the ones who leave the quietest spaces when they go. The love that stays, the love that truly alters the fabric of your soul after 60, is the one that shows up without any fanfare. It's the hand that finds yours under the table when a heavy memory crosses your mind. It's the voice that doesn't interrupt your silence, but joins it, making the quiet feel a little less lonely. We aren't looking for a fairy tale romance anymore. We are looking for a sacred resting place. Have you felt that exhaustion too? The sheer tiredness of trying to figure out where you stand with someone? What if you decided that your peace of mind was too sacred to ever be bartered for someone else's inconsistency? When we choose to trust at this stage of life, we are doing something incredibly holy. We are looking at our own scars, the ones left by departures, by illness, by the natural losses that come with living deeply, and we are saying, I am still willing to believe in human goodness. That isn't naivety. It is the ultimate spiritual triumph. It is using the mirror of connection to see that your capacity for warmth hasn't been extinguished by the coldness of the world. By trusting another person, you are ultimately trusting yourself, trusting your ability to heal, to discern, and to stand tall no matter what the shifting winds may bring. Before you go any further tonight, hear this one thing. Your past experiences with love do not define the boundaries of your future. Every day that the sun rises is a clean slate, an invitation to experience connection, not as a repetition of old hurts, but as an entirely new discovery. You have the depth, you have the wisdom, and you have the absolute right to demand a love that respects your boundaries while cherishing your softness. Let yourself believe, even if just for this moment, that a profound, peaceful trust is entirely within your reach. We live in a world that is always demanding speed, urging us to run toward the next milestone before we have even fully inhabited the one we are standing on. We are told that love must be instant, that chemistry must be immediate, and that if something doesn't spark right away, it isn't worth our time. But you and I know that the most enduring fires are the ones that take time to build, fueled by seasoned wood that knows how to burn long into the winter night. Look at me when I say this. There is a magnificent, quiet luxury in a slow love. Intimacy after 60 is not a frantic race to reveal everything at once. It is the patient, beautiful unfolding of two lifetimes shared one quiet chapter at a time. True intimacy requires a level of patience that we simply did not possess when we were younger. In our youth, we were so eager to be understood that we forgot to listen. We were so desperate to belong to someone else that we often lost track of ourselves. Now, intimacy becomes a deliberate choice to let someone step inside your sacred circle. It requires patience to share your routines. It requires presence to let someone see you in the early morning light before the world demands your strength. It requires us to show up with our defenses down, trusting that our vulnerability is not an invitation for injury, but a pathway to genuine communion. But here's the truth I've never told anyone. For years, I mistook passion for intimacy, thinking that the louder the emotion, the deeper the connection, until I discovered that the most intimate moments are often the quietest ones. This is where everything I thought I knew changed. During a simple sunset that didn't ask for anything but my attention, I realized that true intimacy is found in the spaces between the words we speak, in the way a hand rests on a shoulder, or how two people can share a room for hours without saying a single thing, yet feel completely understood. It is the profound relief of knowing that you do not have to entertain the person next to you. When you look into the mirror of a mature relationship, you aren't looking for a flawless image. You are looking for a pair of eyes that accept every line, every shadow, and every hidden grace of your lived experience. Have you felt that shift too? The desire to move away from the noise and towards something that feels real, heavy, and true? What if the timing of your life isn't running out, but finally aligning to give you the love you actually deserve? We must give ourselves permission to let love move at its own natural pace. We carry decades of history, of habits, and of beautifully constructed lives that we have worked hard to build. Merging those worlds doesn't happen overnight, nor should it. It is a gentle negotiation of spaces, a sacred dance where two independent souls learn to move together without stepping on each other's dreams. This patience is not a delay. It is the foundation of a deeper intimacy, ensuring that when we finally let someone all the way into our hearts, they are entering a space that has been prepared for them with care, wisdom, and absolute clarity. Before you go any further tonight, hear this one thing. The universe does not rush the things that matter most, and neither should you. Your heart is a masterpiece that took 60 years to paint, and it deserves someone who is willing to stand in front of it, taking all the time in the world to appreciate every single stroke of color and shade. Let yourself slow down, let the anxiety of urgency fade, and trust that the love meant for you will always arrive with the perfect, patient timing of a quiet tide. There is a common, quiet lie that society whispers to us as we grow older. that our stories have already been written, that our growth has reached its peak, and that our only remaining task is to look backward. But look at me when I say this, because I need you to hear it with every fiber of your being. Your growth does not have an expiration date. When two fully formed, independent souls come together later in life, they are not seeking completion. They are seeking expansion. True love after 60 is a partnership of purpose, where two people look at the horizon and decide that they still have dreams to cultivate, wisdom to share, and joy to conquer. This kind of growth requires a profound willingness to step out of the comfortable rhythms we have created for ourselves. It is easy to become set in our solitudes, convincing ourselves that our routines are unshakable because they protect us from disappointment. But a shared purpose asks us to stretch our hearts just a little bit wider. It requires patience to align your dreams with another's. It requires presence to listen to what makes their soul come alive. It requires us to show up not as relics of our past, but as active creators of a brand new chapter that belongs entirely to the two of us. But here's the truth I've never told anyone. I used to think that growing with someone meant changing who you are to fit into their world, until I realized that true growth means becoming more of yourself while standing right beside them. This is where everything I thought I knew changed. When I looked at the hands of a craftsman who had spent a lifetime perfecting his trade, I realized that wisdom isn't a static monument. It is a living, breathing force that demands to be shared. When you look into the mirror of a purpose-driven love, you don't see a demand to alter your identity. You see a reflection that challenges you to embrace your highest potential. You see someone who looks at your talents, your kindness, and your unrealized dreams and says, "I believe in where you are going, and I want to walk that path with you." Have you felt that spark too, that quiet reminder that your spirit still craves adventure, learning, and meaningful creation? What if the purpose of this next season isn't just to rest, but to deeply impact the world with someone who matches your depth? When we unite our life experiences with another person, our shared purpose becomes a sanctuary for the world around us. We are no longer building a private fortress. We are creating a legacy of love, mentorship, and grace. Whether it is traveling to places you've never seen, creating art, supporting causes that break your heart, or simply cultivating a garden of profound peace in your own backyard, this shared momentum keeps the spirit young. It turns the later chapters of life into the most vibrant ones, proving that as long as we are breathing, we are meant to evolve, to connect, and to build bridges that outlast our stay. Before you go any further tonight, hear this one thing. Your future is not a fading echo of your past. It is a powerful, unfolding symphony. You still have so much love to give, so much wisdom to impart, and so many beautiful moments left to create with a partner who values your journey just as much as their own. Let go of the idea that your greatest adventures are behind you. Step forward into the light of your shared potential, and know that the horizon ahead of you is wider and more beautiful than it's ever been before. When we look back at the landscape of our lives, we begin to see that the moments that truly mattered were never the loudest ones. They were not the trophies we won, the titles we held, or the grand declarations we made under the pressure of youth. Look at me when I say this, because this is the core of everything we are sharing. Meaning is not something we find at the end of the road. It is something we cultivate in the very soil we are standing on right now. A mature love understands this perfectly. It doesn't look to the future to justify its existence. It finds its ultimate meaning in the simple, breathtaking reality of being together in the present. To live a life of meaning with another person requires a profound letting go of performance. We spent so many decades trying to prove our worth to the world, to our families, and to our peers. But when you are sitting in the warm glow of a love that has matured over 60 years, the need to prove anything completely evaporates. It requires patience to let go of that old habit of performing. It requires presence to look across the table and realize that you are loved simply for the texture of your soul. It requires us to show up with nothing but our raw, authentic selves, knowing that this is more than enough. But here's the truth I've never told anyone. For a long time, I thought meaning was a destination I had to reach through relentless effort until I realized that meaning is just love stripped of all its distractions. This is where everything I thought I knew changed. Right in the middle of an ordinary afternoon when nothing of note happened, yet everything felt entirely full. I realized that the mirror of a true relationship doesn't just reflect who you are today. It reveals the deeper meaning of every scar you've ever carried. It shows you that the heartbreaks were not just empty pain, they were the chisel that shaped your capacity for empathy. The losses were not just empty spaces, they were the rooms being cleared out so that a deeper, more resonant love could finally take up residence. Have you felt that quiet clarity too? That moment where the noise of the world drops away and you realize exactly what is worth holding on to? What if the meaning of your entire journey was always meant to culminate in this specific, beautiful capacity to love without fear? When we anchor ourselves in this kind of connection, life takes on a luminous quality. We no longer rush through the days. We savor them like a rare wine. The shared purpose we spoke of earlier finds its roots here, in the daily ritual of acknowledging how miraculous it is to have found a matching soul in a universe so vast. We begin to see that the ultimate meaning of our lives is found in how deeply we allowed ourselves to be known, how safely we held another person's heart, and how bravely we looked into that mirror and accepted the beautiful, flawed, magnificent truth of who we are. Before you go any further tonight, hear this one thing. Your life has not been a series of random accidents. It has been a sacred preparation. Every joy you've tasted and every grief you've survived has brought you to this exact moment of readiness, making you capable of a love that is pure meaning, pure presence, and pure truth. Trust the design of your journey. Let yourself rest in the profound worth of your own heart, and know that the most meaningful chapters of your story are being written with every single breath you share. There is an exquisite stillness that settles over the world when you finally stop fighting the clock. For so many years, we are taught to view time as an adversary, a thief that slips through our fingers, stealing our youth, our energy, and our illusions. But look at me when I say this, because I want you to hear it in the deepest chambers of your heart. Time is not your enemy, it is your collaborator. If you are looking at the world through the lens of 60 years or more, you have achieved something magnificent. You have survived the frantic hurry of life's morning, and you have entered the golden, spacious light of its afternoon. This is not the twilight of your story. It is your second spring, a season where love no longer has to be rushed, defended, or proven. It is a time when connection can simply be. When we were younger, we loved with a sort of desperate urgency, as if we were trying to fill an empty cup from a rushing river. We were terrified of missing out, terrified of making the wrong choice, and terrified of being left behind. But the patience that comes with a lived life changes the very chemistry of how we connect. It requires patience to look at another human being and not try to rewrite them to fit our needs. It requires presence to sit across from someone and appreciate the slow, deliberate way they speak, the deliberate way they move, and the vast ocean of history they carry behind their eyes. At this stage, we do not need a love that burns like a wildfire, consuming everything in its path. We need a love that behaves like the sun, warming us from the inside out, constant and entirely reliable. But here's the truth I've never told anyone. For a very long time, I looked in the mirror and only saw the things that were fading, until one day I realized that the lines around my eyes were actually the architecture of my laughter, my grief, and my survival. This is where everything I thought I knew changed, right when I stopped trying to look backward and started looking directly at the person standing in front of me. I realized that when two people meet later in life, they are not just bringing their current selves to the table. They are bringing every version of themselves they have ever been. They bring the lonely child, the ambitious youth, the heartbroken lover, and the resilient survivor. The mirror of a mature relationship doesn't just show you your present face. It reflects all of those past versions of you, holding them with a tenderness you never knew was possible. It is a sacred space where your entire history is finally understood, validated, and embraced without a single word of explanation. Have you felt that profound relief too? The moment you realize you no longer have to explain your scars to someone because their own scars speak the exact same language? What if the timing of your life wasn't a mistake, but a masterclass in preparing you for this exact level of understanding? We often look back at our lives and wonder why certain doors had to close, why certain relationships had to end, and why we had to spend so many years walking through the wilderness of solitude. We blame ourselves for our mistakes, or we blame the universe for its timing. But the truth is, you could not have received the love that awaits you now when you were 20, 30, or even 40. You wouldn't have had the room for it. You wouldn't have had the depth to appreciate its quietness or the wisdom to protect its softness. The patience you have cultivated through your struggles is the very quality that makes you a safe harbor for another soul today. It is the gift that allows you to say, "Take your time, I am not going anywhere." Let the rhythm of this truth settle into your spirit for a moment. Think about how much energy it took to maintain the illusions of youth, the effort to look perfect, to act perfectly, to have all the answers. In a mature relationship, that exhausting performance is completely irrelevant. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be uncertain. You are allowed to carry the heavy grief of losses that the world expects you to be over by now. When someone truly loves you after 60, they love the reality of you. They love the way you drink your coffee in the quiet hours of the morning. They love the specific cadence of your thoughts. They love the fierce, protective boundaries you have built around your peace. But here's another revelation I've kept close to my chest. I used to think that the greatest tragedy of aging was the loss of possibilities, until I discovered that narrowing our possibilities is exactly how we find what is genuinely irreplaceable. This is where everything I thought I knew changed, when I stopped looking for a love that would give me a new life, and instead found a love that helped me deeply inhabit the life I already had. We don't need someone to reinvent us. We need someone who can sit with us in the garden of our experiences and help us tend to the flowers that are still blooming. A shared purpose at this stage doesn't mean changing your location or your lifestyle. It means changing the depth of your awareness. It means deciding that the remaining chapters of your life will be dedicated to quality, to depth, to truth, and to an unwavering commitment to mutual kindness. Have you ever stopped to consider that your capacity for intimacy has actually grown stronger, not weaker, with the passing of the years? What if your heart is actually larger now, more capable of holding the complexities of another human being than it ever was in your youth? The love that belongs to this second spring is rooted in an absolute clarity of choice. You do not need a partner for financial survival. You do not need a partner to build a social status or to raise children. If you choose to let someone into your life now, it is purely because their presence makes your world more beautiful, more meaningful, and more alive. It is a choice born out of freedom, not out of lack. This makes the connection incredibly pure. It means that every time you reach out and take their hand, you are saying, I don't need you to complete my life, but I choose you to share the magnificent fullness of it. Look at me when I say this because I mean it with every ounce of sincerity I possess. Your story is not winding down, it is deepening. The world may look at the numbers on a calendar and make its own shallow assumptions, but the world does not understand the timeless nature of the human soul. Your soul does not age. It simply accumulates light. And when two soul lights that have been accumulating for over 60 years come together, they create a warmth that can push back any winter, a clarity that can dispel any doubt, and a sense of home that defies the limitations of time itself. Before you go any further tonight, hear this one thing. Do not let the ghosts of your past dictate the capacity of your future. The heartbreaks you endured were real, the losses were devastating, and the solitude was often heavy, but none of those things have diminished your worth or your ability to be deeply, beautifully cherished. You are a living testament to resilience, a masterpiece of lived experience, and you deserve a love that stands in awe of the journey it took for you to become who you are today. Let the defenses melt away. Trust the exquisite timing of your life and allow yourself to believe that the most profound connection of your existence is unfolding in the quiet, steady spaces of this very hour. Reflection on Chapter 7 and Theme Evolution. In Chapter 7, we enter the profound emotional space of presence promises, coupled with shared purpose. The user has requested a long-form chapter of exactly 1,600 words. The philosophical tension explores the shift from a lifetime of building to a lifetime of savoring. The mirror metaphor deepens into a dynamic of pure presence. True love at this stage doesn't offer a map for the distant future, but rather reflects the infinite value of the single step we are taking together right now, turning ordinary companionship into something sacred. Chapter 7, the masterpiece of shared presence. We spend so much of our existence looking toward a horizon that always seems to recede just as we get close to it. We plan, we build, we accumulate, and we protect, always convincing ourselves that the real meaning of our lives will be found in the next room, the next achievement, or the next turning of the page. But look at me when I say this, because I am speaking to you from a place of deep, uncovered truth. The horizon is an illusion. The only space where life actually happens, the only space where love can ever be truly felt, is in the tiny, immediate circle of the present moment. If you have lived for 60 years or more, you have already seen how quickly the grand plans of tomorrow can dissolve into thin air. You know that promises are just words written on the wind, but presence, true, unwavering, heartbeat-to-heartbeat presence is the only currency that never loses its value. When two people who have survived the storms of life decide to stand together in the present tense, something extraordinary happens to the atmosphere around them. The frantic need to secure the future simply evaporates. It requires patience to unlearn the habit of worrying about what comes next. It requires presence to sit across from someone at a quiet table, watching the amber light of late afternoon dance across their hands, and feel completely, utterly satisfied. You don't need a partner who can give you a 20-year guarantee on a life that is inherently unpredictable. You need a partner who can look you in the eyes right now, in the middle of whatever chaos or silence the day has brought, and make you feel like there is nowhere else in the entire universe they would rather be. But here's the truth I've never told anyone. I spent decades running toward a future that didn't exist, constantly checking the horizon for safety, until I realized that the only real safety is found in the arms of someone who knows how to drop an anchor in the middle of the now. This is where everything I thought I knew changed, during a moment so ordinary most people would have missed it entirely. I looked at the way a single ray of sunlight illuminated the dust motes in a quiet room, and I realized that love after 60 is not about creating a spectacular new life. It is about bringing spectacular attention to the life you already have. When you look into the mirror of a present-centered love, you aren't looking for a promise of what you will become down the road. You are looking into a mirror that says, look how beautiful you are right now, in this exact second, just as you are. It is a connection that strips away the weight of expectation, leaving only the pure, unfiltered joy of mutual witness. Have you felt that profound exhaustion too, the heavy weariness of always trying to stay 3 steps ahead of life, just to keep from falling? What if you gave yourself permission to stop running, to drop your heavy bags at the door, and to simply inhabit the quiet sanctuary of this exact hour with someone who wants nothing from you but your company? True companionship at this stage becomes a shared purpose of the highest order. But this purpose is different from the ambitions of our youth. It is no longer about building a career, buying a house, or making a name for ourselves in a crowded world. Our shared purpose now is the deliberate cultivation of peace, kindness, and deep, resonant awareness. It is the choice to look at the world together, with all its beauty and all its brokenness, and decide that you will be each other's soft place to land. It is a commitment to checking in on each other's spirits, to noticing the subtle shifts in each other's moods, and to honoring the silent agreements that form when two souls truly understand what it costs to live. Let the weight of that realization sit with you for a moment. Think of how rare it is to find someone who doesn't try to change your rhythm, but instead adjusts their own stride to match yours perfectly. In our younger years, we were so busy trying to force people into the shapes we thought we needed that we missed the beauty of who they actually were. Now, our wisdom allows us to love with open hands. We can look at a partner's unique quirks, their accumulated habits, and even their physical frailties, and see them not as obstacles but as the holy textures of a life well lived. This is a love that doesn't demand you bend yourself out of shape to fit into a pre-made mold. It is a love that expands its borders to accommodate every single part of your history. But here's another revelation I've kept hidden in the quietest corners of my mind. I used to think that a powerful love story had to be filled with high drama and grand gestures, until I discovered that the most breathtaking love is the one that manifests as an unbroken string of quiet, consistent moments of kindness. This is where everything I thought I knew changed, when I realized that a cup of tea brought to you exactly the way you like it without you having to ask holds more genuine devotion than 1,000 empty speeches. We don't need a love that acts like a performance on a stage. We need a love that operates in the background of our lives like a beautiful, continuous melody. A shared purpose means waking up every day and asking yourself, how can I make the world a little lighter for the soul that has chosen to walk beside me? It is the merging of two lifetimes, not into a messy entanglement, but into a harmonious duet where each voice retains its clarity while creating a completely new sound together. Have you ever stopped to think about how much more valuable your attention is today than it was 30 years ago? What if the gray in your hair and the stories in your heart are exactly what make your presence the ultimate luxury for the person who is lucky enough to receive it? The love that defines this chapter of your life is built on an absolute reverence for time, precisely because we know that time is limited. We don't waste hours on petty arguments. We don't spend days harboring unspoken resentments. And we don't let the trivial distractions of the modern world pull us away from the people who matter. When you sit with someone who loves you after 60, you are both acutely aware of the preciousness of every single afternoon. This awareness doesn't bring sadness. It brings an incredible luminous intensity to the relationship. It makes a simple walk through a park feel like an initiation into something sacred. It turns a quiet conversation in the dark into a timeless monument of human connection. Look at me when I say this, because I want these words to act as a healing balm for any lingering doubts you carry. You do not need to prove your worthiness to be loved by being useful, by being perfect, or by hiding the parts of you that feel worn down by life. Your presence alone is the prize. The fact that you are still here, still willing to open your heart, and still capable of feeling this deep vibration of connection after everything you have been through is a miracle. And when you find another soul who recognizes that miracle, who handles your heart with the same reverence they would show a fragile, priceless work of art, you have found the only thing in this life that truly matters. Before you go any further tonight, hear this one thing. The world may try to tell you that your capacity for deep, life-altering romance belongs to the past, but the world is blind to the majesty of a mature heart. Your heart is not a fading light. It is a steady, burning sun that has finally learned how to shine without burning out. Do not settle for a companionship that is merely a polite agreement to share a space. Hold out for a love that actively cherishes the sound of your voice, that respects the depth of your silence, and that treats your presence as the greatest gift it will ever receive. Trust your journey, lean into the magnificent fullness of your own worth, and know that a love of absolute presence, depth, and meaning is waiting to hold you exactly as you are. We have traveled a long, winding road together through these quiet reflections, stepping slowly through the landscapes of vulnerability, trust, intimacy, and growth, until we have finally arrived here at the highest peak of our shared journey. Look at me when I say this, because I am speaking to you now with the absolute fullness of my soul, holding nothing back. When you stand at this vantage point, looking out over the decades you have left behind and the beautiful open space that still lies ahead, the noise of the world completely loses its power over you. You begin to see that every single step you took, every path that led to a dead end, every door that slammed shut in your face, and every tear you wept in the dark was not a mistake. It was a necessary movement in a grand, silent choreography designed to bring you to this exact moment of absolute readiness. True love at this stage of life is the ultimate decoder of our personal history. It does not erase the pain of your past, nor does it pretend that your scars do not exist. Instead, it acts as a holy light that shines upon those wounded places, revealing that they were the very entry points where grace was meant to enter your life. It requires patience to look back at our own stories with this level of forgiveness and tenderness. It requires presence to stop wishing that things had been different and to instead say a quiet, profound thank you for everything that made you who you are today. When you find a love that matches your mature depth, you are finding a partner who doesn't look at your history as a liability, but as a priceless treasure chest of wisdom that they are deeply honored to explore beside you. But here's the truth I've never told anyone. For the longest time, I was terrified that when I finally reached the later chapters of my life, I would look into the mirror and only see a collection of regrets, until I found a connection that showed me that my entire life had actually been a masterpiece in progress. This is where everything I thought I knew changed. Right when the need to control the outcome of my life completely fell away, leaving only an overwhelming sense of gratitude. I realized that the mirror of a true soul-level love doesn't just show you your own reflection. It shows you what happens when two spirits stop fighting their own nature and simply allow themselves to melt into a shared grace. It is a reflection that reveals your bravest, most beautiful self, standing tall, completely unburdened by the expectations of a world that never truly understood your worth anyway. In this mirror, you do not see lines of age. You see lines of triumph. You do not see a heart that is running out of time. You see a heart that has finally learned how to beat to the rhythm of its own truth. Have you felt that shift happening inside you over these last few moments? That gentle loosening of the knot in your chest that has kept you guarded for so many years? What if you finally accepted that you have nothing left to prove, nothing left to hide, and that you are completely beautifully ready to receive the kind of love that honors your entire journey? We must understand that the love we are speaking of is not a temporary emotional high. It is a permanent spiritual orientation. It is a conscious decision to live the remainder of your days with your heart wide open, choosing connection over isolation, warmth over cynicism, and presence over the empty promises of a chaotic world. When you share this orientation with another person after 60, your daily life becomes a continuous living prayer. The simple acts of living take on a sacramental quality. Sharing a meal, watching the rain fall against the window, holding hands in the quiet dark of a summer evening, these are no longer ordinary occurrences. They are the highly concentrated essence of human meaning, experienced by two people who know exactly how precious and fragile every single moment of existence truly is. Let the profound depth of that peace wash over your spirit right now, filling up every empty space that old loneliness left behind. Think of how magnificent it is to realize that your capacity to love has not decreased with age, but has actually become infinitely more refined, more potent, and more beautiful. In our youth, we gave away pieces of our hearts recklessly, trying to buy approval or secure an identity. Now, you give your love intentionally as a king or queen bestows a priceless gift from an inexhaustible kingdom of lived experience. This makes your affection an incredible force of healing, not just for the person who receives it, but for your own spirit as it flows out of you, untamed and entirely free. But here is the final, most personal confession I have left to share with you tonight. I used to believe that the ultimate goal of life was to find someone who would save me from the darkness until I realized that the true miracle is finding someone who stands in the light with you, admiring how beautifully you saved yourself. This is where everything I thought I knew changed when I looked at the person beside me and realized that our connection was not born out of mutual weakness, but out of mutual sovereignty. We do not need each other to survive. We choose each other to celebrate the fact that we have already survived. This is the foundation of a love that can never be shaken by the passing of time or the shifting of circumstances. It is a shared purpose that looks at the world and says we are here to be a sanctuary of kindness in a world that has forgotten how to be gentle. It is the ultimate realization of the mirror metaphor, where two fully realized individuals stand face to face, reflecting the divine spark within each other until the boundaries between me and you dissolve into a beautiful, harmonious us. Have you ever allowed yourself to fully comprehend the sheer magnitude of your own resilience? The absolute beauty of the fact that you are still here, still dreaming, and still yearning for deep connection after everything this life has put you through. What if this entire script, every single line we have shared tonight, was a message sent directly from the universe to remind you that your greatest, most profound emotional awakening is happening right now? As we bring this quiet conversation to a close, I want to leave you not with a goodbye, but with a deep, soulful benediction for your heart and for the sacred journey that lies ahead of you. May your days be filled with a presence so thick and sweet that it leaves no room for the anxieties of tomorrow or the regrets of yesterday. May you find in the spaces between your thoughts and the quiet moments of your routines a profound and unshakable sense of your own absolute worthiness. May you encounter a love that doesn't ask you to shrink, to perform, or to hide your scars, but instead stands in complete awe of the magnificent, resilient, and beautifully seasoned soul that you have become through 60 years of living. Look at me one last time before you step back into the flow of your evening. You are a masterpiece of time, a living archive of love, grief, wisdom, and strength. Do not let anyone or any calendar ever convince you that your season of profound romance and deep intimacy has passed. Your heart is wider now than it has ever been. Your spirit is more luminous, and your capacity to experience the absolute heights of human connection is entirely undiminished. Go forward into your days with your chin held high and your chest open to the sun. Trust the exquisite timing of your life. Honor the sacred boundaries of your peace, and allow yourself to believe with absolute certainty that a love of perfect understanding, pure presence, and eternal meaning is not only possible for you, it is actively seeking you out, even in this very hour. Receive this blessing into your spirit. Let it anchor your heart in an unbreakable peace, and walk forward knowing that you are cherished, you are seen, and you are entirely whole. Every step you take from this moment on is a step deeper into your own magnificent light, where the love you have always deserved is waiting to welcome you home.